Welcome to Karana CPQ. Let's take a look at the finalization option that we have available. Karana CPQ is not a quote document generation tool. It is a configuration tool for line items that go onto a quote. We've selected HubSpot CommerceHub as our backend for generating the actual quote documents. The way that this is implemented is through our Finalize feature at the bottom here. If I go ahead and I click Finalize, this is going to pull up a rendering of my quote. It's going to tell me all the things that I have on it, and then it's going to give me some margin intelligence towards the bottom of this system. You see we have a couple of items here that have no cost entered. We have some that have cost entered, and if cost is entered, it is going ahead and telling us what our margin in dollars are and what our margin in percentage are. Dollar is configurable. We use the HubSpot portal company currency by default, but we support quoting in any currency through price book overlays. At the bottom here, I have my finalize quote option, which if I go ahead and click that, is going to write out a quote into HubSpot for me. Once that is done, I get a conveniently accessible link to open this quote up directly within HubSpot. We can see that we've got version 3 finalized. I've finalized 2 previous versions. Let's go ahead and look at this inside of HubSpot. See, this loads up into the quote editor directly. If you had parties and companies associated to the deal, those will automatically be associated to the quote within HubSpot based on how we have configured this system. We are planning to support selectively adding people based on association labels instead of adding all parties to the document. From here, you have all the power of HubSpot's native quoting system in order to build out your quote. We do not recommend editing line items through here because that's what the CPQ, the configurator is for. But you can use this to edit things like terms, payment conditions, attach additional documentation if you need to do that. And in the new version of CommerceHub, we now also have the ability to extensively customize the look, feel, and to some extent the behavior of the quote as presented to your client. You will see that our line items from the CPQ system have been pulled across. We have the quantity, the unit price, and the discounts. We have the net price, and then we have some text that is being generated in order to describe the configuration. Now, this is version 3, which means that this has been amended in some way from version 1 to version 2 to version 3. What we can see is we've got amendment status here. So this was added, and it is a new line item that wasn't previously on here. Added, new line item, added, new line item. This changed, and the change affected 3 fields, and it knocked the total for this particular line item down by $23,000. So it reduced the price by $23,000. New line item, new line item, new line item, and changed resulted in a 0 value change, but there was still a change made there. And there we go. The text that is generated here is entirely configurable. And I will show you how those editors work when we dive into the settings for Karana CPQ. At this point, I can go ahead and request approval. And once approved, this will flow through HubSpot's normal quoting process or normal quote send process, collection of signature, and optionally collection of payment. Note that we have approval rules built into the CPQ system. And if you trigger the approval rules inside of the CPQ system, those rules flow through into HubSpot, and you will follow HubSpot's implemented approval process for quotes, which means that you don't lose access or visibility to HubSpot implemented features for quotes. That is optional. You do not need to use approval rules within the CPQ. You can also configure approval rules directly inside of HubSpot. Just note that they may have less access to the context that we have available within Karana CPQ around the quote that you are generating. We head back into the CPQ tool over here. We'll see that there are a couple of additional tabs along the top here. I'm going to go to amendment. Different. So this is generated the amendment or the changes that have been applied from version 2 to version 3. And it details exactly what changed. This is useful for auditing, but this also generates what we're calling a contract term. And this will generate an integration point that allows us to update your external systems, your ERP or other fulfillment tools, not just with the original version of what we have generated, but also with any amended terms. And this will generate an amendment contract. It is not generating a full contract. It's generating a change to the existing. Let's click into history. History is a powerful tool to identify how and why things changed over time. So you can see that we've had 3 versions. It's giving us a summary of sort of the high level of what those were. But with compare, I can go ahead and I can compare version 1 to version 3. Click compare. It's going to generate a comparison for me. And now I can see what changed between version 1 and version 3, right? So it's comparing those 2 versions explicitly. I also have changelog, which will show me not just the differences between 1 and 3, but show me how we got there. So if I go ahead and click show me the changelog with version 1 and version 3 selected, you will see that I have the full change history. So version 1 was the initial version. Then to version 2, these are the things that changed. To version 3, these are the things that changed. Super useful for having visibility and traceability in what changed over time. You're not required to run from the first to last version. You can also run from any intermediate versions that you so choose. Same thing with compare. You don't have to compare a version just to the version that immediately predates it or immediately succeeds it. I can compare version 1 to version 100 if I choose. I can generate changelog for the differences between version 1 and version 100, and it'll give me a summary of all the changes that took place between those.